Spring pests waking up before your tomatoes do is one of gardening's rudest little surprises. Welcome to rudeinsect.com.
It really is. You spend all winter planning this beautiful garden, and then the ants, beetles, and mystery crawlers act like you planted it just for them.
Which is why today we're talking about organic pest control powders for spring 2026. I like this topic because powders don't get as much attention as sprays, but they can be incredibly handy.
And they fit nicely with the way a lot of gardeners want to work now. People are trying to protect crops without turning the whole yard into a chemical zone. Organic powders are appealing because they're aimed at pests, but they're also part of a bigger idea. Keep the garden balanced instead of nuking everything that moves.
That's the big difference, isn't it? With synthetic sprays, the temptation is to go scorched earth. Powders feel more targeted.
Usually, yes. A lot of the popular organic powders are based on natural ingredients, especially diatomaceous earth. That works by damaging the outer layer of crawling insects, so it's especially useful against things like ants and beetles. It's not magic, and it's not for every pest, but for crawlers, it's a solid tool.
I'll admit, I used to be a spray person.
I know, you looked like you were fogging for mosquitoes in 3 counties.
That is unfair. It was maybe 2 counties. But I switched because powders are easier to place exactly where I want them, around the base of plants, along pest trails, near the soil line. Less drift, less waste.
That precision matters. If you can keep the treatment low and localized, you're less likely to interfere with beneficial insects. And that's one reason gardeners like powders in spring. Ladybugs, ground beetles, pollinators, those are allies. You don't want to hit everything by accident.
Another thing I like is that powders can last longer than sprays, at least when the weather cooperates.
Right, though this is where I'm going to disagree with you a bit. People hear last longer and think they can dust once and forget it for a month. Not in spring. If you've got humidity, heavy dew, or frequent rain, you need to check those treated areas and usually reapply every couple of weeks.
Fair. You're more disciplined than I am.
That's because I've learned the hard way. One year, I dusted my squash bed, felt very pleased with myself. Then we had 3 damp mornings in a row. By the time I checked again, the pest pressure was back, and the plants looked like they'd hosted a tiny chewing competition.
That sounds about right for squash. So timing matters. Early spring, as the soil warms and the bugs start moving, that's when you want to get ahead of the problem.
Exactly. Don't wait until the leaves are full of holes. Apply on a dry day so the powder sticks better. Use a hand sifter or a powder applicator if you have one, and go light. You're dusting, not breading chicken.
That should be printed on the bag.
It should. Too much powder is messy and less effective than people think. A thin, even coating around the base of plants and along visible trails is usually the move.
Let's talk products for a second. The article highlighted diatomaceous earth products, including food-grade options and blends with peppermint. That peppermint addition is interesting because some gardeners like the scent factor as an extra deterrent.
And there are also crawling insect powders designed for direct application to soil and plant bases, which makes sense because that's where a lot of spring pest activity starts. The key is matching the product to the problem. Broad-spectrum powders can help with many crawling pests, but they're not the answer for flying insects. If your issue is something airborne, you may need a different strategy.
So the powder isn't a miracle cure, it's one piece of the spring routine.
Exactly. Think of it as part of a system. Monitor early, apply in dry weather, reapply about every 2 weeks if conditions are damp, and keep notes. If you use a planning tool or garden calendar, even better. Pest control works a lot better when it's scheduled instead of improvised.
And for people growing vegetables, herbs, or flowers, that routine can save a lot of frustration without reaching for harsh chemicals.
Which is really the appeal. You protect the plants, you reduce unnecessary exposure, and you support a healthier garden ecosystem while you're at it.
Spring gardening is always a little bit planting and a little bit defense.
Mostly planting, hopefully. But yes, keep the powders handy. Thank you for listening to this edition of rudeinsect.com, Conversations with Grant and Fiona.